Okay, we're live. Hey, Marcia.
Hi.
Hey.
Lovely to see you. Thanks for doing this for us. We, really just wanted to see you again and hear from you and, see where you're at. And it's lovely to see you shining as we got to experience in the program.
Thank you. I guess it's good to be here. This is kind of nerve-wracking, but look how far I've come.
You look beautiful. Your hair looks angelic, Marcia.
Thank you.
And you totally have come a long way. I mean, it's been so, inspiring and really humbling, honestly, to see your journey and where you've come from, what you've been through. And that might be a good place to kind of start, actually, is, maybe just share a little bit about where you were at and what you were struggling with maybe when we started, meeting
Okay.
up.
So where I started from, I've been divorced a year and a half, and I've done a lot of therapy. I've done years, I would say 20 years of, personal development programs and reading books and going to group therapy. And I really have come a long way and just felt really pretty good with myself, but I just felt that there was something missing because I just deep down felt like I am an undesirable person. Like nobody would want to be my friend, much less date me or anything like that. I just felt deep down undesirable. And so I thought, I've done enough self-development to know that this probably can be helped. There's probably something that I could unlock or something I can think about differently to change that. And so I think I found you on Instagram or something, and just something just kind of resonated or clicked, and I just thought, okay, because on Instagram there's so many accounts that are kind of giving that same message of I can help you, but something resonated with you, and so I just kind of followed that intuition, I guess.
Yeah, well, you did well to do that. It definitely served you, and honestly served us well, to be honest. And you said you'd been in some self-development stuff before, so I'm curious what kind of things, without going into sort of specifics necessarily, but what kind of stuff did you do in the realm of self-development, and maybe how was it kind of different from what you did with us in Led by Love?
Um, I'll start like most recent to going backwards. So most recently, I had joined a life coach group where you log in and can watch people being coached. It's kind of a recording unless you get in to be the one being coached. So I watched a lot of that, and that helped with a lot of shifting of my thinking and my mind. I've read lots and lots of books, and I have done like programs on tape, the kind that you can order and do those kind of programs.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
And I'm curious, Marcia, just because I think it's probably something that a lot of women feel and struggle with. You mentioned that one of your core reasons for coming in was deep down you felt undesirable.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, did you have any insight yourself as to what might have caused you feeling undesirable, or where you think that might come from?
I think it's just a lot of messages. I mean, starting from childhood, my family is we've been laughing about it recently. My family is sarcastic and just makes lots of jokes. And I think if you start hearing things starting in childhood, it just kind of becomes a part of me. So, and then in marriage,
messages from your family members,
family,
you feel?
yes, just they're joking, but they're saying like nobody likes you, kind of, but
Right.
in an ironic way, like of course they do, but those are the words that my ears heard. Is nobody likes you. Yes. And then 20 years of marriage to somebody who's telling me that I'm undesirable, and then his mother telling me I'm undesirable, and it, yeah, I think it just starts to sink in.
Yeah, I remember us speaking about that and diving into that and really unpacking it and sort of really rewriting the script around that as well. And it was particularly when you shared that with us. And yeah, no, I do remember that. And
I think there's something particularly potent about that message, because some messages we receive are quite, they feel almost a little bit particular to our circumstances, but that one is really so widespread in the collective, in the collective womanhood, that on some level we're not enough, and I guess that's the obsession with always the focus on the material and the better hair and the better body and whatever it is and however it shows up, and then also having it in your family and
not enough, right? But also, sorry to jump in, also too much as well. And I seem to remember something around that for you in terms of one of the sort of realizations, something about taking up space in the relationship and kind of having like permission to do that, and not just permission, but actually to do that. That's the way to create sort of an amazing relationship, to show up so fully in it as opposed to becoming small. I wonder if you could share a little bit about some of that.
Yes, that I guess was another one of my core things that led me to your program. Is I feel like unless I'm helping someone, I don't deserve a spot, or just I always needed to shrink myself to not take up anyone's time. Do you remember in our first calls, I just could hardly take up any time during the call, and I would apologize as soon as 2 minutes was over. I just that's a memory. Taking up time and taking up space just gave me anxiety. I just wanted to apologize to anyone who spent time talking to me, or just occupying.
Now here you are shining for just a few thousand people.
And so can you share with us around that? So how did that transform, or how does that show up for you now? Yeah, that wounding around not taking up too much space. What were some of the shifts that you had?
The shifts were almost immediate. From one of the first week's assignments, I learned that other people can spend time with me. We were asked to have somebody write, answer some questions, and I just kind of, it took me a long time to follow through, but just from the exercises we do, just the embodiment exercises, I just had, it was just a sudden realization, like, I am worthy of this person's time, and this is okay. So it was one of the very first shifts, and it did happen pretty immediately, that I thought, this is okay. And and I kind of suspect they're happy to do this for me. They seemed very happy to do it. And so it was one of the first things that shifted. And then over time, I learned to relax on our calls. I learned to just say, they've given this time, and this is what they want to do with their time. And so every week it became more easy for me to take up time and space.
And we could see it, and honestly, really felt blessed by you giving us more of you in that space, in that time, and showing up more and more and more. And, and that's how it's received, is when it comes from that authenticity, it's received like a gift,
Now that you say that, I feel that too. Do you notice at the end, like, our calls were so deep, they were so moving, they were just so powerful when I was just willing to be there. But when I'm just concerned about time and just like, let me just say this really fast, sorry, there was no magic. I mean, there was, because there was other people on the calls, but there wasn't that magic for me, I guess, when I was just more concerned about watching the clock and being reserved. So yes, I have that written down in my notebook. Like, I am light. This is what I have to give to the world. is this light. And so I don't have to feel afraid of it. It is a blessing to other people.
Wow.
Wow. And I feel it even now. Yeah, you're reminding me, you're rekindling that gift of you. I think I called you a miracle maker. You have this, this beautiful light that you share. And there was something about, I think what really touched me as well was that's a deep wound actually to shift from. It's not easy everything happens in its own time. So even when we surrender and do the work, it may not be immediate, but there was something about you being so ready because, when you were like, okay, I'm going to take up space, you did. And it just, and it flowed I was so moved by it. And there's so much in there about as well. I think when you were talking about, actually really receiving, because we do this so much, we don't actually receive who we are from other people. And they'll say, oh, thank you, you're so wonderful, or you have this gift, and you know what, we don't really receive that. And ultimately that's really life reinforcing something to us. It's giving us a gift of healing. And what I found in you is you were able to receive that healing, and you fully were able to receive it and take it in. And I think that for me is such an inspiration, and for so many women, is to really receive who they are from other people. Sometimes we forget, that love speaks through other people.
And how has that felt for you to be able to receive that, Marcia?
It's felt amazing. It's almost like coming home to who I really am. It's it's so much different than this. This is a thought that popped in my mind just now. All growing up, people would comment on my hair. They'd say, "Oh, you have such pretty hair," and it became who I am. It became what I was known for, and it was my sense of self-worth. And I would just think, if something happened to my hair, I would be nothing. I would be nobody. But receiving what you're talking about, like receiving that knowledge that it is my light that's within me that I've always had. It's always been there. It's not a fearful or anxious, like, what if I lose this? It doesn't have that same, from my childhood, that same anxiety with it. It's more of a very settled, I am home with myself. I belong. This is who I am and can't be taken away. Much more settled, peaceful place.
Because no one can take it away, as you said. Right. You can't. There's nothing to be anxious about, because you can't lose something that is inherently you and that was always there, as you so correctly said.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Was there some other things that you remember, like, standing out about Marcia's journey?
I remember early on the power of no. You had some. I just remember the story of you went to a family gathering and then you left and there was a fire and you had to come back. But I remember that there was something, and there was a few. I wondered if there was any other realizations. For me, it was that no, and also I remember your thinking shifted a lot. I remember you saying something like, why can't I look cute in this dress? Like, you were having these deep realizations about sort of internal walls that you'd built to your own radiance and beauty and power. You were the one restricting yourself.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that power of no, that was one that was, it was very powerful. It was very, mind-blowing. So I was actually just re-listening to the modules, listening again on repeat to something that I had already heard before, and it suddenly clicked. And I went from a place of feeling, I'll tell you my mindset before is, I'm a nice person. I'm very giving. I'm selfless. I know that I am a kind, good-hearted person. So why do people treat me so poorly? And why, how could people close to me say hurtful things? And that is kind of a disempowering position, like I'm a victim. And I when I learned about my power of no, everything shifted from why are they doing this to me to I've had this power all along. I have power within me. I can at any time, and I've always had the power at any time to say, no, I won't be listening to that, or no, I'm not accepting what you're saying. Or I can just say, oh, if you talk to me like that, I'm going to leave. And I could have changed the last 20 years of my life. And instead of constantly being victimized, going, why do they do that? I had the power to change the situation, walk away from the situation, or just speak up.
And it's just changing that conversation with oneself, right? So you literally change the way you speak to yourself. And, of course, there's an embodiment piece to that as well. But it's that inner dialogue. And suddenly all the external conversations have the potential to change too, because you immediately, the position from which you're coming from is now an empowered one, rather than, as you said, a disempowered one. And it was so distinct to see you when that sort of clicked for you, was to around that power of no. And it's like that aha moment. Oh, I could have done that the whole time.
I know about boundaries. I mean, I've done so much work. I know about it, but there was something that shifted. And now, instead of ruminating on old situations, my mind really goes, interesting how I thought about that. Like, this is what I had the power to do. And I see it a completely different way. I go, interesting what I allowed. And instead of, poor me, or, this is so sad, I hope they realize how sad this is. So my mind doesn't even think about it in the same terms.
And notice how even when you sort of go back there in your memory and you sort of do an impression of your previous way of speaking, it's in a sort of caricature, because that sort of is one of the things that tells me that you have created that separation from it. There's this former self that is almost like laughable, like comical, rather than so, I hope I never go back there again, or and that's it's so nice to see you free of that and liberated from it.
Yes, it feels good.
And so we've covered a few things. I just wondered if there was any, have we covered like your favorite bits? What would be if your favorite bit of learning, or anything that you'd want to share from the course if we haven't covered it already?
One of my favorite things that just kept coming up again was my power of choice. That I am an agent to myself, that I make choices. That kept coming up week after week. And once again, it's not anything I didn't know, but I didn't know it. I guess it wasn't embodied. It just kept reappearing that I am making choices every day, that how I respond is a choice. How I think of myself is a choice. All of these things are choices. And it's so empowering that it's within my ability to choose. Yes. And so, yes, I mean, there's so much about life that just happens, that we're not controlling. But this isn't about control. It's about my ability to make choices in every situation and in every moment. And
are you able to sense, what the differentiating thing is with this? And by that I mean, like you said, you knew about boundaries for a long time. You've done self-development stuff, and you knew about getting clear on what it is you don't want, and having this power of choice obviously is kind of like, so what do you have a sense of what it is that made it sort of land for you, and maybe change from being just a sort of concept to something that you live?
You probably could tell me what that magic is better than I could, but is it probably just that we do things with our bodies? Like I move, and it's hard for me to pinpoint, but I bet you designed it maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say it is. It's one of the key pieces. And I was speaking with somebody earlier as well about some of what we do, and they were curious about sort of this coaching modality and the counseling stuff and all of that. And I said, more than anything else, Beth and I are embodiment teachers before anything. And so it's lovely to hear you say that. and to validate that. And yeah, I feel that that's the key piece for really everybody. And as you would have seen with the ladies too, and with yourself, is it's that you feel it in your body. You go through a process of actually embodying the energy of that concept, whether it is the boundary and the no, or being grounded, or the kind of opposite, so to speak, which is being creative, being receptive, being in flow, being in that feminine, is rather than just talking about it, thinking about it, writing about it, you've done it and you do it. And it's so obvious to see, in you, like physically and visually.
Yes, it was. I think physically, yeah, changing my state, because I would do different exercises throughout the day, and I can tell when like anxiety's coming up, or if I'm starting to obsess or like worry about a situation, I will stop. I was even yesterday on a walk, and I stopped in the middle of this trail. I stopped and just, I didn't try to change anything. I was just like, hey, I'm gonna notice, like you're sitting right here, like right in my chest. And I just like, okay, I feel like I want to just stop and feel this and notice it, and then just move on. And so, I mean, but I feel like that changing my state and noticing my body and things like that, it must it must do something different, because yeah, it lands different. It feels different.
Yeah. Well, and I suppose the last question for me, it would be sort of where you're at now, and maybe what the future looks like, or next steps for you, or what's current, or yeah, and maybe how that compared to how life or what your plans were before you had this transformation.
So before, I'm looking at in the next 6, 7, 8 years, my kids being all grown up, and that filled me with a lot of fear, and just that thought of emptiness and empty nest was very scary. And now I create emptiness, or I clear space, I should say, not emptiness, but I clear a lot of space on purpose. Wow. Because I'm not afraid of it, because I'm excited for what will fill that time and space. So I wish you could see I could take on a tour of my house before and after. Like, I have cleared so much space in my physical home, and then also cleared my calendar and cleared a lot of the clutter that just kind of kept me busy and kept me distracted. And so, I don't know what's in the future, but I know that I do have space for it, and I can receive whatever is perfect for me. And so I don't have that fear thinking about the future anymore.
Wow. That is huge. And that's pretty profound, on several levels, but just creating that space, and also, as you said, not just physical space, but space in yourself to receive it, and space sort of in terms of time and space on your calendar, and that you're able to do that and not fill it up with stuff, because now you have that faith, that knowing, really, it's not just a blind faith, but a knowing that the universe wants that space to be filled with whatever is right for you, whatever you want ultimately. And yeah, that's wow, so beautifully put.
Thank you. I think it's the gratitude part of it too. The gratitude part of the program that I've been doing. I notice that all the wonderful things that are placed just at the right time, and so it's kind of like I've already seen all of the best things happen at the right time, and so I just have full confidence knowing that this will continue. That good things are placed in my path all the time, every day. And so it's a settling feeling, a good grounding feeling that good things are happening and coming.
Yeah, and we can see it, sort of can feel it coming through you, good things happening in you, and in your external life. And now that you have this fundamental shift in perception of your relationship to the universe, which is, as we spoke about recently on a live, which is life not happening to you, but for you, and and you make that internal shift first, then it actually comes true, so to speak.
Yes, I've seen that happen, because with recent events, I could have said, like, that's terrible. Why am I? Or I could have played victim. I could have said, poor me. But instead, I see the gift in it. It's amazing to feel lit up by what a few weeks ago would have been traumatizing to me. But I literally go, I can see how this is that right wind that will push me in the direction I want to go, rather than a wind that's knocking me over. So yes, perfect timing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you got it, because that is as a woman, that's our super magnetic power, to really understand that comes from really living in faith and living in surrender to the universe, having that space so that all of the best miracles can happen and fill our life.
Mm-hmm.
So you got it down to a T, and just sharing your light.
Yeah, thank you for taking some time out today to share it. And that's precisely what we wanted to do, and what you wanted to do too, right? Is just be this sort of light, really, and the sort of to shine some light on really what for many people like you experience was quite a dark place, potentially, or not a very hopeful one, but actually with just a few internal shifts, it's entirely possible, even if you've had however many years of whatever,
Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you so much. Like this, yes, I know it's been a lifelong study for you, and it's been, this is a work of love for you that's taken many years, but yes, it does work in a couple of months for me. And it's just so profound, and it's concise, but so life altering. It's been so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to that's me deflect. I'm not receiving it. There's me deflecting your thanks. You see, that's me on my journey too, to practice receiving. But thank you.
I'll do it for him.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure to guide you through that process. And ultimately it's you. We're just sort of there to steer a little bit.
Absolutely. You've blessed and graced our life so much. I'm so looking forward to seeing how you blossom in this next year. I really, truly am.
Thank you so much. You guys are so kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Was there anything else you had, or are we good?
That's all that's coming. I mean, there's so much, but that's all that's kind of on my mind right now.
Yeah. No, I think we're good.
Yeah, because we could talk for hours with Marcia. We know that.
Easily.
It's so fun.
Amazing. Well, thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
much. All right. How do I even turn it off? There we go.
Bye.